before we start with reverse charge and joint charge mechanism, now first let us have some broad idea about service tax and most importantly the budget 2015, which has been passed recently to both the houses, but it is pending for the signature of the president. Now this budget, with respect to indirect taxes, it was only bringing more services under tax cut. More and more services will come, and they have also increased the rate. The effective date for the rate is yet to be notified, but they have increased the rate, and one more doubt is 14% or 16%. New rate is 14% and new Swachh Bharat cess is 2%. Going by the wordings, it should be 16%. That cess, generally cess is only on the tax portion. But surprisingly, this Swachh Bharat cess, which is the introduction of Modi, education cess and secondary higher education cess are the introduction of Gandhi Parivar. Now this is the introduction of BJP Parivar. Now he is more active, or he is more dominant than the Gandhi family as of now. So he has set the 2% on the value. So effective rate will be on specific services. See, it is a good way to tell initially. After a few years, they will put it on every services. The same thing happened with service tax. Initially, they introduced service tax only on three services. Selective approach. Whenever we talk about taxation approach, always government goes by selective approach. Start by in the beginning itself, if they tell that it is on all services, protest will happen. So, but ICA has again made a proposal to the parliament that this cess should be only on the tax portion. So we have to wait whether they tell that as 14 plus 2% or 14% plus cess only on the tax portion. And many new services have been brought in. Few services which are brought in, which have been removed from the negative list, can be constitutionally challenged, which means that they are again trying to increase the tax net without looking into the constitutional aspects. Now, if time permits, when we are discussing Samvat credit, we will discuss few important amendments also in relation to Samvat credit. First, we will move on to the topic: reverse charge and joint charge mechanism. Reverse charge is a mechanism whereby service tax is collected from service recipient. Generally, when we talk about service tax, it is collected from the service provider, but in case of reverse charge, it is collected from the service recipient. The first service to be brought under reverse charge mechanism was in the year 1997. GTO, it is not GTA, Goods Transport Operator. As of now, Goods Transport Operator don't pay service tax, but at that point of time, Goods Transport Operator are paying service tax, and it was brought into reverse charge ambit, but without changing the act. So it was held to be unconstitutional by Supreme Court in Laghu Udyog Bharati vs Union of India 1999. The reason was there was no provision. Service tax is to be collected only from service provider. When they are telling that some other person other than service provider has to pay service tax, there should be a particular provision in the act. Just by changing the rules will not serve the purpose. That being the case, Supreme Court said that it is unconstitutional. Therefore, they introduced one section called as Section 68. Section 68 has got two parts. Second part, Section 68 subsection 2 tells that even a person other than service provider can pay service tax. So Section 68 was introduced, which enabled the central government to notify persons other than service providers as person liable to pay service tax. Now this is all about the history of reverse charge. Joint charge. Joint charge came in when the new service tax was born. A new concept was also introduced after 18 years of service tax birth. Now this mechanism is a strange mechanism whereby they tell that both service provider and service recipient on the same particular service has to pay service tax on a notified ratio. Service provider rate will be given and service recipient notified percentage will be given. Both has to pay service tax on the same service on the same value. This is otherwise called as partial reverse charge mechanism. A new concept was introduced in 2012, that is, it was effective from 1st of July 2012 when the new service tax came into picture. An important point here is liability of each other person is independent of the second person. Service provider may go for some other mechanism. This is only important when you talk about works contract, because in works contract there are two valuation modes. Service provider may go for the first valuation mode, service recipient may go for the second valuation mode. So this is all about the basic and the history of joint charge mechanism. Now the provision which was introduced after that Supreme Court judgment, person liable to pay service tax, it is Section 68. And when you talk about reverse charge mechanism and joint charge mechanism, basic provision which attracts this particular reverse charge and joint charge is Section 68 subsection 2, read along with notification number 30/2012, which notifies the services on which provider is not going to pay service tax, some other person is going to pay service tax, and also rule 2(1)(d), which tells that who is that some other person who has to pay service tax. All the services other than those notified services, around 16-17 services, all other services, normal cases will come. Section 68 subsection 1 will come. Who has to pay service tax? Normal cases means it is only the service provider who has to pay service tax. When you talk about the notified services, which is being notified under notification number 30/2012, where section 68 subsection 2 applies, in that scenario, if you are talking about reverse charge mechanism, recipient will pay service tax, and if you are talking about joint charge mechanism, both provider and recipient will pay service tax, and they have prescribed the person who is going to pay service tax in Rule 2(1)(d) of Service Tax Rules 1994. Now we will take independent cases, one by one case of all the reverse charge cases and joint charge cases. First we will cover reverse charge cases. After the amendment by this budget, there are only 2 joint charge cases as of now. So maximum discussion will be on reverse charge cases. Now, before discussing all these reverse charge cases, what was the intention of the government to bring into reverse charge concept? You have seen the history, but there should be an intention to bring a new concept.
To have audit.
Easy to collect
revenue. That's only.
And this can be very well understood from the first service itself.
The agency.
Agents.
You cannot go run out
Thousands and lakhs of agents.
10 companies you can.
10 companies you can collect from those 10 companies rather than going back behind thousands and lakhs of persons. Even government follows cost benefit analysis. They have to actually run it like a business. They have to see whether what is the cost and what is the benefit. If many insurance agents like TDS, yes. So if they are putting the liability on the other person, or to put it in a simple way, they are ignoring unorganized sector and they are focusing on organized sector. That is a major point. So unorganized sector, it is very difficult to turn them into organized sector. Theoretically, this reverse charge joint charge should go away, believing that after few years, even those unorganized sectors will become organized sectors, theoretically. But practically, it may not happen. We have seen the example of advocates. They have themselves said that we are not organized. They have said that we are not going to pay service tax. They have forced the government to bring an exemption notification for them. Even a few cases where they are allowed to pay service tax, they have said that we are not going to pay service tax. So that was another issue. Now first we will take insurance agent. The name itself is very clear. When you talk about insurance agent, as you rightly said, it is difficult to collect from lakhs and lakhs of insurance agents, rather easy to collect it from the company itself. In this case, the provider is the insurance agent and the recipient is the person who is carrying on the insurance business, that is the insurance company. Now the service which is being provided is insurance agent service, not the insurance service. It is the insurance agent service for the agent, for which the agent collects a commission amount. On that case, recipient is liable to pay service tax. Who is the recipient? The insurance company has to pay service tax. And when you talk about insurance agent, this particular reverse charge mechanism, an important point to note is only insurance agents are covered under reverse charge mechanism, not the other insurance intermediaries. Say for example actuaries. There are the other types of insurance intermediaries. They are not covered by reverse charge mechanism. They have to pay service tax by themselves. It is only the insurance agents who are being covered by the reverse charge mechanism. A recent introduction by 2014 budget. Recovery agents. Same logic. Recovery agents, insurance agents for insurance companies, recovery agents for banking companies or financial institution or non-banking financial companies. Provider is a recovery agent. In this case also the person who is liable to pay service tax is a service recipient, that is a banking company. Now, this is by this particular budget, budget 2015, mutual fund agent or the distributor. The logic remains the same. Mutual fund agent or the distributor. Provider is the agent or the distributor and the recipient is the mutual fund company or the asset management company, as the case may be. The person who has to pay service taxes in all the cases, in reverse charge cases, it will be the service recipient. Now, if it is introduced by this budget, you have to again understand the scenario before this budget. Scenario before this budget was, before this budget the same service was covered by the Mega Exemption Notification 25/2012, which means that there was no question of any service tax. Before this budget, there was no question of any service tax. After this budget, this amendment is a constitutional amendment. Because they have removed exemption for this particular type of service, again there was a need whether they will be able to collect service tax from lot of mutual fund agents. It is better to collect service tax from the organized sector, mutual fund company or the asset management company. This amendment is a result of the amendment in mega exemption notification 25/2012, where they have removed this particular exemption given to the services provided by mutual fund agent or the distributor. The effective date is 1st of April 2015. Same logic for this also, selling or marketing agents of lottery tickets. Now, in this case, again, provider is the selling or marketing agent of lottery tickets, and the recipient is not the lottery company, recipient is lottery distributor or selling agent. Now, this is very important. Say for example, you are talking about the first distributor, lottery company and the first selling distributor, second selling distributor. For the first selling distributor, who is the service provider for the first contract between the lottery company and the distributor? Who is the service provider? The first distributor. Service recipient? Lottery company. They are not talking about the first type of contract. They are not talking about the first type of contract. They are rather talking about the second type of contract between the first selling agent and the second selling agent, whereby the second selling agent is the provider and the first selling agent is the recipient. They are talking about the subcontract, not the main contract. And in that case, the recipient of the service will be paying the service tax. Again, the same reason. A number of sub agents will be there. They want to focus only on the main agents. Now, this is also an amendment and introduction by Budget 2015. Now, the reason for this also is the same. Same reason. It was previously exempted. There was an amendment in Mega Exemption Notification 25/2012, which means that from non-taxability it was brought into the tax ambit. There was a need to tell that who is going to pay service tax. It is a service recipient. Again, the effective date for this also is 1st of April 2015. So, the most important of all the reverse charge mechanism is Goods Transport Agency service. Now, before we discuss this into length, you have to understand that when we do tax audits, even indirect tax basic understanding is required. When we do tax audit, our basic focus is only on the credit side. We take the P&L of the time and we see only the credit side. We see that whether any service portion is there, and if there is any service portion, we see to that it is less than 10 lakhs because there is an SSP exemption notification 33/2012 by which the client can go for this particular exemption notification. We never take pains to see go through the debit side. Now this service may hit many clients. This service may hit, and he will be a person who is liable to pay service tax, and there is no exemption for him. When you talk about reverse charge, the 10 lakhs exemption is not applicable. So even debit side has to be seen. Now debit side has to be seen for one reason, that is reverse charge cases and joint charge cases. Second important reason, if it is already a client who is paying service tax, debit side has to be evaluated twice or thrice for seeing the credit. Many times client will not be booking the credit. We will be paying something more. We can give valuation services by telling that you are allowed to book such credit. You reduce your net liability. Now, Goods Transport Agency service. Goods Transport Agency is the service provider. Now, you have to understand that whether GTO is liable to pay service tax as of now. GTO, Goods Transport Operator. Only the agent. We are going to see in the next slide the negative list. That now it is only the Goods Transport Agency who is liable to pay service tax. When you are talking about transportation by road, other than GTA and consignment agent, no one else is required to pay service tax. So GTO, which was taxed initially, now it is not taxed. It is only the Goods Transport Agency. He is the service provider. Who will be the service recipient? Before we see the list, specific persons, who will be the service recipient?
Who pays right?
Who pays right? There are three parties involved. One is the Goods Transport Agency, rather there are four parties. Goods Transport Agency, Goods Transport Operator, Consignor, Consignee. GTA is out of picture because he is not able to pay service tax. Now it is GTA, Consignor, Consignee. GTA very clear is the service provider. The issue comes who is the service recipient. Whether it is a consignor or the consignee.
Specified persons and all that, but who pays?
Before saying specified persons, you have to see who is a recipient. Only for him you have to see the specified services, specified persons list. So it is very important to see whether who is the recipient. It depends. Freight paid penalty or freight to be paid penalty. Consignor or consignee. Who is paying the freight?
As per the types of
yes.
If it is FR types means automatically
Consignor. Consignor. It is freight paid, it is consignor. To be paid, it is consignee. Now this is very important because From that particular point of view, you have to see whether he is one of the specified persons or not. And one of the most important things when you talk about service tax, concept of subcontract is always there. You may have 4 or 5 parties together and you'll be confused who's the service provider, who's the service recipient. It will become very simple if you analyze independent contracts and see who's the service provider, who's the service recipient. Or to put it in simple terms, GTA will be having contract only with one person. Locate that person, he is the service recipient. If it is freight payability, it is a consignor. To be payability, it is a consignee. Only for that particular person, you have to see whether he is one of the specified persons. Only for that particular person. He should be either a registered factory or a registered society or a registered dealer or a cooperative society or a body corporate under any law or a partnership firm, whether it is registered or not. Partnership firm, whether it is registered or not, that is very important. Many partnership firms will not be registered, but still that is not important. Even if it is a partnership firm which is unregistered, reverse charge will be applicable, including association of persons. Only for that person you have to see. Now, if he is one of these specified persons, plus one more condition which is given in a negative way, he should be located in taxable territory. Majority of the reverse charge cases and joint charge cases will be there only if the recipient is in the taxable territory. Basic reason is you are shifting the liability from the provider to recipient. And if the recipient itself is located in non-taxable territory, again it will be very difficult for the government to collect service tax from the recipient because he is not in the taxable territory. So if you see all the reverse charge cases and joint charge cases, carefully you will find that the taxable territory condition is always there. Whenever they shift the liability to the service recipient, they see to it that he is located in taxable territory. So there are 2 conditions. First, fixed consignor or consignee, then see whether it is one of the 6 specified persons, plus he is located in taxable territory. Only if that thing is happening, the recipient will pay service tax.
So that registered dealer means registered
Excise dealer.
Yeah.
Registered excise dealer.
Registered sales tax.
No, registered excise. This registered dealer it is not the exact legal word, it is registered excise dealer. Right? Though both the conditions are satisfied, it is a service recipient. To put it otherwise, if one of these 2 conditions are not satisfied, who is going to pay service tax? GTA, the provider himself. Right?
So non-taxable territory, Jammu Kashmir will come.
Jammu and Kashmir will come, exactly. Say, for example, I will give you an example where the consignor is in Tamil Nadu, consignee is there in Jammu and Kashmir. And we are talking about a GTA who is taking the goods from Tamil Nadu to Jammu and Kashmir. First point, in this case, Tamil Nadu person is a normal individual.
Yes.
And Jammu and Kashmir is a body corporate.
Yes.
Now, it is a case of freight payability. Who is going to pay service tax?
Indian exempted, he is RP.
GTA is
GTA. Because the contract is with Tamil Nadu person, Jammu and Kashmir person is not relevant.
Not relevant.
It is not relevant. So it is with Tamil Nadu person. Tamil Nadu person is not one of the 6 categories person. So you will not see whether it is there in taxable territory or not. Now second case. Same case, only difference is now it is a case of right to be payability.
then also GTA.
Then the contract first is between GTA and Jammu and Kashmir. Now Tamil Nadu person is not relevant. Consignor is not relevant. Now when you talk about the consignee in Jammu and Kashmir, first condition is satisfied. One of the 6 specified person. Second condition is not satisfied. He is not there in the taxable territory. Non-taxable territory includes Jammu and Kashmir. Therefore, who is going to pay service tax? Again GTA.
Likewise, proprietary concern means automatically.
See, proprietary concern, see, to simplify it, proprietary, before seeing whether it is a proprietorship concern or not, first fix who is the service recipient. Then see for 2 conditions.
If service recipient is proprietary concern, then automatically.
If it is a factory, if it is a proprietor of the factory,
No, proprietorship concern may be covered by registered factory, registered society or registered dealer.
the registered dealer, he is like.
So first 3 categories are wide enough to cover even a proprietorship concern.
So registered dealer under
Excise.
Not under
He may be a registered dealer, then he is not
it
applicable.
is a trader, it is not applicable.
For a trader it is not applicable. Unless otherwise it is not a partnership firm, body corporate or cooperative society.
Excise for passing on the.
Just because it is a proprietorship concern doesn't mean that reverse charge is not applicable. You have to also see that it is possible that he is one of the first three categories, registered factory or a registered society or second point will not be applicable. More importantly, the registered dealer.
Yes.
More importantly, the registered dealer. Now, GTA, as it is very important, we'll see the other aspects of it. GTA. What do you mean by GTA? GTA, only two persons who are transporting the goods by road are liable to pay service tax. One is GTA, one is consignment agent. So that is a requirement to differentiate it. Because for GTA you have exemption notification, you have abatement notification, you have reverse charge mechanism. For consignment agent, there is no exemption notification, there is no abatement notification, there is no reverse charge mechanism. So it becomes very important whether the person who is transporting the goods by road, whether it is a GTA or a consignment agent. So if you see the definition gives the answer. In the case of GTA, it is transporting the goods only by road. That is the first point. Means any person who provides service in relation to transport of goods by road. Second point, and he is issuing a consignment note in terms of Rule 4B of service tax rules. This consignment note becomes very relevant. Now when you see the definition of consignment agent, more differences will be appreciated. Now this is one of the basic difference between GTA and consignment agent. Other differences are, when you talk about consignment agent, they are in a service where they give door-to-door delivery, door-to-door services. Door-to-door services which is not given by GTA. Door-to-door delivery of time-sensitive goods, documents or any other articles. Here door-to-door service will not be given generally. One more difference is consignment agent, at times partial transportation may be by road, partial transportation may also be by air. But in case of GTA it is always full transportation should be by road. So if you see the definition of GTA and consignment agent, and if you try to understand those two definitions, you will get all the points whether it is a GTA or a consignment agent. 2 points from GTA definition and 3 points from consignment agent definition. Meaning of consignment agent, it is again reproduced in Rule 4B of Service Tax Rules 1994, where these things are essential. Along with the invoice, even the consignment agent is to be issued, where serial number will be there, details of consignor, consignee, registration number of goods carriage which is carrying the goods, details of the goods transported, place of origin, place of destination, and most importantly, who is liable to pay service tax, whether GTA or consignor or consignee. So this is the content of consignment note in terms of Rule 4B of Service Tax Rules 1994.
So this is serial number, it is to be printed or it is to be affixed?
Pre-printed.
Pre-printed.
Pre-printed. But
fraud
many GTA don't follow it. It should be pre-printed. It is only a technical error. Some may ignore it. Now, again, negative list, as we have already discussed, only 2 cases where tax will be there when you are talking about transportation of goods by road. One is GTA, one is courier agency, and we have also discussed the differences, how to differentiate whether it is GTA or courier agency. Mega exemption notification. See, person who is liable to pay service tax will come in here. When you see the stages, first you have to see whether it is falling, whether it is actually service. Second, whether it is falling in the negative list. Third, whether it is falling in the mega exemption notification. Next, abatement notification. The last point will be person who is liable to pay service tax. If it is a case which is falling under mega exemption notification, there is no need to pay service tax. So therefore, discussing who is liable to pay service tax is not relevant. Immaterial. So the stages will be, first see whether it is a service. Yes, it is a service in case of GTA. Second, it is falling in the negative list. No, it is not falling in the negative list. It is being removed from the negative list. Third, mega exemption notification. Yes, there are mega exemption. There is a list of mega exemption notification which is applicable when the goods are transported by way of GTA. Out of which the first 2 are very important. The total value of the entire truck is less than 1,500. If that is the case, stop it. No need of any service tax. Next, in a case where the truck is carrying the goods of 2 particular persons and the amount is 800 and 600. Total amount is 1,400. It is possible to be covered by the first point. And if the amount is 1,000 and 600, total amount is 1,600. It will not be covered by the first point. But again, per consignee, it is again possibility of exemption. So there are 2 persons who are paying 1,000 rupees and 600 rupees. Totally the amount is more than 1,500. Therefore, question of service tax will come. Next, you have to see per consignee. First consignee, the amount is 1,000. For that, service tax will be paid. Second, 600, no service. Is the point clear? So this exemption has to be seen. Important exemption, 1,500 per truck, 750 per consignee. Or rather, the actual sequence is, first you have to see whether it is a product which is falling in the mega exemption notification. If it is a case of agricultural produce, or if it is a case of foodstuff or foodstuff or chemical fertilizers, organic matter, oil cakes, cotton, newspapers, magazines, relief materials, defense materials. If these are the cases, service tax will not apply. So the sequence rather should be first see the specified items starting from agricultural produce, foodstuff, chemical fertilizers, cotton, newspapers, magazines, relief materials, defense materials. If these are the 7 set of items, then no question of not even required to see the amount. Ignore that. If it is a case where the goods are not falling in these 7 items, then see the slab. 1500 per truck, 750 per consignee. And don't stop there. Say for example, in our example, we have taken a case where we are not talking about these specific cases. It is not a case of agricultural produce and all these items. It is not a case of that. Normal commodity other than these 7 listed commodities. So question of exemption will not come, but the value exemption may come. Now in this case, 2 consignees are there, 1000 and 600. 1000 rupees service tax will come, 600 rupees service tax will not come. On 1000 rupees, how you are going to calculate service tax? On 1000 rupees, whether you have to pay service tax 1000 rupees multiplied by 12.36%.
No, by 25%.
Next stage is abatement notification. There is an abatement notification which is applicable for GTA, 75% abatement. So on that particular value, 1000 multiplied by 25% multiplied by 12.36 will be only the service tax amount.
No, amendment is there.
See, in 2014 there was an amendment, not in this budget. Amendment was there, right? In this case, sorry, abatement is that, right? I'm sorry, it is 70% now. It is 70%, no, it is not 75%. Therefore, for the reason for the amendment was
70.
all the sectors, transportation of goods by whether it is by road or rail or vessel, it is all 70%. We change that, it is 70%, and this condition will be there when you are talking about abatement notification. Credit will not be allowed. Credit booking will not be allowed, but this credit booking not allowance is only for the service provider GTA. It is not for the service recipient, because at times recipient may also pay the service tax. For him there is no condition. For him there is no condition. Only for the provider GTA there is a condition that he cannot book the credit of any items. Input services and capital goods. This is point clear? So final calculation will be 1000 multiplied by 30% multiplied by 12.36. Now this is a summary of what we have seen when you are talking about person who is liable to pay service tax. First see whether the person paying or liable to pay specified persons. If no, then reverse charges not applicable. GTA is liable for payment of service tax. If yes, then reverse charge will be applicable if the person who is paying freight or liable to pay freight is located in taxable territory. Person paying freight or liable to pay freight shall pay the service tax. But reverse charge will not be applicable if the person who is paying the freight or liable to pay freight is not located in taxable territory. To put it in simple terms, there are 2 conditions. One, service recipient should be specified person plus located in taxable territory. So this will be the last stage. After you see the negative list, after you see the exemption notification, after you see the abatement notification, when you find the service tax amount, finally question will come that who will pay service tax. Only then you have to see reverse charge and joint charge mechanism. This particular topic, reverse charge and joint charge, is a topic which will be seen in the end after analyzing everything about service tax. Now the next service which is falling under reverse charge mechanism is sponsorship service. Now we'll take a recent example, IPL, Pepsi IPL. Previously it was DLF IPL, now it is Pepsi IPL. Who is the provider, who is the recipient? Contractor. Let us assume that organizers of IPL and Pepsi company. 2 persons are there.
IPL is
IPL is the receiver.
IPL
PCC.
Service tax la first ada evaluate பண்ணனும். Contract பார்க்கணும் first step. அதுக்கு அப்புறம் locate பண்ணனும் யார் provider recipient.
Pepsi.
IPL is the provider.
யார் payment பண்ண போறாங்க?
அது வந்து BUR தான்.
Sponsorship. We are talking only about sponsorship services.
Companies are sponsoring. They are making.
யார் payment பண்ணாங்க? Pepsi. Pepsi becomes the service
Service
recipient.
recipient. Correct.
Service recipient becomes Pepsi is the service recipient. Providers are organizers of IPL because they are putting the name everywhere. Sponsorship service.
Sir, 8 team which who you going to pay that?
Pardon?
8 team is playing.
No, no, no. IPL is a separate body. IPL is
Now you're talking about sponsorship service or other services?
Sponsorship?
Sponsorship service, in the 8 teams, like they're talking about franchisee, that is franchisee. In that case, normal provider.
Okay.
Here it is only about sponsorship service.
For sponsorship.
And that
event.
sponsors of events, that too, in reverse charge will apply only and only if recipient is a big person. Recipient should be organized when he is liable to pay service tax. Big person definition in this case is body corporate or partnership firm, plus one normal condition as we have already discussed. Whenever they shift the liability to service recipient, they make sure that he is a taxable territory. So organized person plus Darren, taxable territory. The definition of organized person is different in different cases. In this case, organized person is called as a body corporate or a partnership firm who is located in taxable territory. In such cases, recipient will be liable to pay service tax. Now, the question which you have asked may be answered from this definition clause. Now, we don't find the definition of sponsorship service after the new act was introduced. This was there in the old definition clause, section 55 clause 99A. And the clause language. After they have came out with the new service tax, definition clauses, definition section is now section 65B. So, if on the definition but we can always take the old definition to understand what you mean by sponsorship service. Includes, they are talking about only clarification, includes naming an event after the sponsor, naming an event after the event. The important term for your question is naming an event after the sponsor, displaying the sponsors company's logo or trading name, giving the sponsors exclusive or priority booking rights, sponsorship prizes, trophies for competition, everything, general thing. But it should be for an event, but it does not include. When you see the does not include part, though it is running into few words, the simple point is, say for example, if a person has given some donation without asking the person to give anything in return. In such cases, question of service tax will not come. If question of service tax will not come, there is no question of discussing reverse charge or joint charge mechanism. This particular thing will not come. It is again a clarification. It will not include any financial or other support in form of donations or gifts, because donation and gifts prima facie will not attract service tax. So question about whether the provider or recipient will pay service tax will never come. Given by the donors, subject to the condition that the service provider is under no obligation to provide anything in return to such donors. Now this is an excellent thing to clarify it, because in number of cases you will find that hospitals are opened or educational institutions are opened, few persons will come. Obviously hospitals, educational institution, it was meant for social cause now, but it is the main business. So if someone is giving the donations, what will happen? Apart from the sponsorship service, we will focus on the donation part. Whether service tax will be applicable? It depends. The sponsor is telling that you have to write my name on a particular block and it is written in the contract. Then it is liable to service tax because something in return is given. But what mostly happens? They don't write it. In the contract, you will never find it. They'll put the board. Same thing will happen now. They will tell that, okay, donation, now what is my advantage? First point, other. Directly or indirectly, whether directly through their mouths or through intermediaries. Okay, I'm ready to give 10 lakhs or 20 lakhs donation. What is the benefit for me? I want this particular block, front block, not the back block. Front block, my name in bold, and that should be there for minimum 20 years. So, on the market condition now, if you analyze it, it is liable to service tax. But what is happening, you will never find it in return. You can always take a stand that it is a donation or a gift which is not subject to service tax. So coming back to sponsorship service, I think your question is answered. It is naming for an event. Mega exemption notification, the list is there for certain sporting events. It is exempted. The list is long. All these by national sport federations or all the associations which are mentioned in the mega exemption notification list. If this particular sponsorship is for sporting events organized by 5 particular heads, then it is exempted. See, if it is exempted, there is no point to discuss whether who is going to pay service tax. So these 5 are the events organized by these 5 categories. Next is arbitral tribunal. Now in case of arbitral tribunal, again, recipient should be big person or organized person located in taxable territory. In this case, the definition of organized person is business entity located in taxable territory, recipient will pay the service tax. Now when we talk about services by arbitral tribunal, we have to again see the mega exemption notification list where they tell that if you are talking about services which is provided by arbitral tribunal to any person other than business entity, it is not subject to service tax, or to a business entity with a turnover of 10 lakhs in the less than 10 lakhs in the preceding financial year, it is again not subject to service tax. What is the implication? If you are talking about arbitral tribunal, which are sole arbitrator or panel of arbitrators under Arbitration and Conciliation Act 1996, if you talk about those services, if they are given to the arbitration is for an individual, no question of service tax, exempted. If arbitration is to a business entity, but whose turnover is less than 10 lakhs in the previous year, though this condition is that details has to be taken by the arbitral tribunal. If it is less than 10 lakhs, then again no question of service tax. Now only one possibility will be there is it is provided to a business entity
with more
and
than 10 lakhs
turnover is more than 10 lakhs in the preceding financial year. Only at that point of time service tax will come. The moment at that point of time service tax will come, they are not going to pay service tax. It is the business entity who is going to pay service tax. So that is said in reverse charge. This is point clear? Or to put it in simple terms, at any point of time, arbitral tribunal will never pay service tax. Two things are exempted. Only one thing is taxable. Like advocates, there is one possibility. We'll discuss the next case. There is one possibility where they pay service tax. One possibility. Right? Is the point clear?
Yes.
When you talk about arbitral tribunal, at any point of time, they will never pay service tax. Two cases exempted. Only one case which is taxable is business entity. Turnover is more than 10 lakhs in the preceding financial year. Business entity will pay service tax. Now your question. Advocates, legal services. Now it was only after the protest by advocates that it was an exemption was given and it was brought into the reverse charge ambit. They are talking about individual advocates or firm advocates by way of legal services. To whom? To an organized person who is located in taxable territory. The definition of organized person is the same. It is the business entity who is located in taxable territory. They have to pay service tax. Now,
Any abatement?
exemption is there. See, only one case reverse charge will be there if it is provided to business entity and it is located in taxable territory. Say for example, legal services are given to an individual, family dispute. So it will not come in this reverse charge category, but there is an exemption. In the next slide you will find exemption notification. Before that we will see the definition of legal services. First point is means part is very simple. All these definitions are either given under section 65B, definition clause of Finance Act 1994, or given under rule 2 of service tax rules. Section 65 is nothing but section 2 of Finance Act, because section starts from section 64 only. Finance Act 1994 starts from section 64 only. Now this definition is given under rule 2.1 CCA of service tax rules, which tells that legal services means any service provided in relation to any advice, consultancy or assistance in any law, any branch of law in any manner. So this is a normal point. Important point is it includes representational services. So it even includes their representational services. So everything provided by them is a legal service, to put it in simple terms. Now, we are talking about the mega exemption notification. When you are talking about an example where it is a family disputes and the legal services provided by an advocate to an individual, it is covered by the exemption notification. Legal services by an individual advocate or partnership firm of advocates to another firm, subcontract. That is because both the advocates are telling that we are unorganized. So it is exempted. One advocate to another advocate, they are telling that we are unorganized. So it is exempted. One advocate to another advocate or one partnership firm of advocates to another partnership firm of advocates, it is exempted. Second and third point is the same which was there for arbitral tribunal. Provided to any person other than business entity. Our example which was an individual who is coming for a family dispute, and if an advocate provides him the service, it is covered by the mega exemption notification 25/2012. And the third point is a business entity with a turnover of up to 10 lakhs in the preceding financial year. So only in one possible scenario, service tax will be there. What is that possible scenario? Business entity whose turnover is more than 10 lakhs in the preceding financial year. Right? In that scenario, who is going to pay service tax?
Business.
Not always. Not always. If the business entity is located in taxable territory, business entity, one case where the provider himself, advocate himself will pay service taxes, he is providing to a business entity which is located in non-taxable territory. In that case, he cannot say that he is unorganized. He is very big advocate. He is providing to a business entity located in non-taxable territory. He cannot now take a ground that we are unorganized. So only in one possible scenario, advocates themselves will pay service tax. Otherwise, it is either exempted or covered by reverse charge.
Mostly covered in reverse mechanism.
Mostly covered by exemption, sir.
Exemption like business entity more than 10 lakhs normally.
Normally it will come. So mostly it is covered by reverse charge mechanism. But the important point is reverse charge mechanism is one very important point. Whenever you are talking about reverse charge, they make very sure that the recipient is there in taxable territory.
Yes.
Otherwise, there is no point. We are going to see the last service of reverse charge mechanism, import of services. The basic objective is if the recipient, if the person who is paying service tax is not in taxable territory, it will be very difficult for them to collect service tax. From collecting it from a person who is there in taxable territory, it itself is very difficult. Who is there in non-taxable territory, it will be very difficult. So, in all these reverse charges cases, you will find a common condition. Recipient should be there in taxable territory. Government services. Now, government services, when you talk about government services, we have to see negative list also. First, we will understand the basic of the reverse charge mechanism. Government or local authority which is providing the services to whom? Again, organized person located in taxable territory. Organized person is business entity located in taxable territory. But not in all the cases reverse charge will come. Only in one case. See, if you see the wordings, it will be except renting of immovable property and services specified under section 66D A 1, 2 and 3. Which means that these cases, renting of point number 1 and point number 2, reverse charges not applicable. Other than these two, reverse charge will be applicable. Now this can be better understood if you see the negative list of government services in the next slide. When you talk about government services, the first point in the negative list is talking about the services provided by government or local authority. Prima facie it is there in the negative list. As per section 66D(a), the following services provided by government or local authority are specified in the negative list. Services provided by government or local authority excluding. This negative of negative means these following 4 services only will be taxable. All the other services provided by government or local authority will be, they will not be called as service. It is following the negative list. What are the 4 services which are taxable? First, services by way of speed post, express parcel post, life insurance and agency services. They are not talking about the basic post services. They are talking about speed post, express parcel post, life insurance and agency services provided to any person other than government, provided by the Department of Post. That is the first service which is taxable. In this case, who is going to pay service tax? In this case, reverse charges not applicable. Government itself will pay service tax. Now the next service which is taxable is services in relation to aircraft or a vessel inside or outside the residence of the port or an airport provided to any person who is a provider provided by government or local authority. This is the next taxable service by government or local authority. In this case, who is going to pay service tax?
Government.
In this case also it is government or local authority. In the second point also reverse charge will not be applicable. Now the third service which is taxable is transportation of goods and passengers provided to any person by government or local authority. It will be taxable only if it is not following the other negative list which talks about transportation of goods and passengers. Assuming that it is taxable, in this case who is going to pay service tax? Again government and local authority. For the first 3 points, reverse charge is not applicable. Reverse charge is applicable only for the 4th category. Now there is an amendment which is not highlighted. Previously the term was support services in the 4th point. Now it is any services. They have expanded the tax ambit. Support services previously only support services were taxable. Now it is any service other than point number 1, 2 and 3 because they are already taxable provided to business entity. Any service if it is provided to non-business entity, it is covered by the negative list. But if any service is provided to business entity, previously the term was support service, definition was there for support services. Now they tell that it is any service provided to a business entity, it is taxable other than 3 mentioned above taxable services. Now in the 4th category, who is going to pay service tax? Fourth category is very wide. It's very wide. Previously, it was very logical to call something called as support services because many services are provided only by the government. There is no point in collecting service tax. But now they tell that no, even for that they are going to go for service tax. Again, a clarification is expected when you talk about that particular amendment. So they have expanded the tax ambit. Now in the fourth case, who is going to pay service tax? Any service provided to business entity. Service recipient, generally in the fourth point, reverse charge will be applicable. Service recipient will pay service tax. Only in one exceptional case, service recipient will pay. Generally, service provider recipient will pay service tax. Only in one exceptional case, government himself will pay service tax. Service charge will not be applicable when you are talking about renting of immovable property. Now, the reason for it can be easily understood. When you talk about provider being the government and number of tenants, if they were talking about reverse charge from one authority, they had to collect service tax from a number of tenants. Tenants has to get registered, they have to make the payment, they have to file the return. For that reason, they are telling that renting of immovable property will not come under the reverse charge category. Or to put it in simple terms, the first three services which are taxable provided by the government, always government will pay the service tax. Reverse charges not applicable. For the fourth service, prima facie, reverse charge is applicable. Who is going to pay service tax? It is the business entity who is going to pay service tax. And one more point, only one exception is that where reverse charge will not be applicable for the fourth category is renting of immovable property. And the reason is to ignore number of tenants, focus on government itself. Is the point clear? Directors' remuneration. Another important topic, directors' remuneration. In the last budget there was an amendment. Previously they were talking only about director of a company. They said that even director of a body corporate should be coming under the service reverse charge category. Now prima facie, the moment you talk about director, whether service tax will come first of all. Whether service tax will come.
Employee contract.
If employee relationship is there, as per the definition of service, section 65B clause 44, it is not a service. 5 exclusions are there, out of which the fourth exclusion is service provided by an employee to an employer in course of or in relation to employment. So they are not talking about the directors or the employees. And who can be called as employees? Basically, managing directors and whole-time directors can be called as employees. So when you are talking about reverse charge, you are talking about directors other than those particular directors, whole-time directors and managing directors. Because if you are talking about remuneration paid to managing directors and whole-time directors, it is not subject to service tax. If it is not subject to service tax, there is no point in telling that who is going to pay service tax. Only when you talk about nominee directors or say independent directors. In such cases, service tax will be applicable because there is no employer-employee relationship. And if service tax is applicable, who is going to pay service tax? The company or the body corporate. Why they have introduced body corporate? The basic objective is quasi-governmental bodies, RBI like RBI, and one more, foreign companies. Foreign companies are not called as company. They will come under the term of body corporates. So two points were there to introduce this body corporate term. One is quasi-governmental bodies and one is foreign companies. They said that even directors of a body corporate will be covered by reverse charge mechanism. Director will never pay service tax. It is either the company or the body corporate who is going to pay service tax. Important point is even if the remuneration to such independent directors is 5 lakhs or 6 lakhs, company or the body corporate has to pay service tax. This SSP exemption notification will not be applicable. In all the reverse charge cases and joint charge cases, small service provider exemption notification 33/2012 will never be applicable. Now the point which we have discussed, as per section 65B clause 44, definition of service. Service excludes provision of service by an employee to an employer in course of or in relation to employment. Thus, service by the directors who are employees of the company or body corporate, example whole-time directors or managing directors, will not be liable to service tax. Thus, no question of reverse charge will be there. No, and recent amendment, supply of manpower and security services. Now, previously it was falling under the category of joint charge. 75%, 25%. Now it is totally reverse charge. They tell that there is no need to pay any amount by the provider. Entire amount will be paid by the service recipient, but conditions have to be satisfied. Just because it is a case of supply of manpower services or security services, don't come to a conclusion that reverse charge is applicable. Conditions. In all cases, recipient will be organized, provider will be unorganized. Or to put it in simple terms, provider will be a small person, recipient will be a big person. They are given the definition. Provider is a small person, individual, HUF or partnership firm, whether registered or not, including association of person, located in taxable territory. Recipient, he is the person who is going to pay service tax, so he should be organized. Now the definition of organized here is business entity first, registered as body corporate. See, many other places we have seen only that condition, business entity. Now there is an additional condition. First, business entity. Second, registered as body corporate. Which means that if the recipient is a partnership firm, whether reverse charge will be applicable? No. Recipient should be a business entity and therefore it should be a company, body corporate, located in taxable territory. This is a common condition. Whenever they shift the liability to recipient, they see that the recipient is there in the taxable territory. So two terms are there. In many places you had only this condition, business entity, taxable territory. Here there are three conditions: business entity, body corporate plus taxable territory, which means that service recipient is a very big person. He is a business entity plus a body corporate plus a taxable territory. Only in such cases, reverse charge will be there. Now the
unregistered firm, what can do that?
Even firm is not liable.
partnership firm will not come. Partnership.
Not service provider. I am a service recipient is a registered firm.
Even that case.
That case it will not come. Even if it is a registered firm, it will not come. They are talking, when they talk about body corporate, they are focusing only on Indian companies and foreign companies. Body corporates. Right? This amendment is only to change from joint charge mechanism to reverse charge mechanism.
The apartment will come or not? Will not come. Apartment 20%, 70-30%.
Which case?
Sir, most of the construction companies will be affected by this.
Yes. This most of the construction companies. See, rather that was an headache for construction companies. Partial amount by the providers, partial amount by them. See, the basic reason for introduction of joint charge was, reverse charge was, the providers are all unorganized.
Yes.
Joint charge they introduced with an intention to see that
Alright.
providers are unorganized, but let us try them to make them organized. Theoretically, what should have happened? Joint charge should have gone, which means that the entire liability should have been on providers finally. But in this case, reverse has happened.
Yes.
They tried, they failed, therefore they said that, okay,
Okay.
we are not trying anymore, it is reverse charge.
In practice, what happened in contract business, to bypass the PF and the ESI, everybody is doing supply of now.
Yes.
If it is not a company means escape. So, that means only if a body corporate reverse charge.
Okay.
Otherwise, what happened? Which contractors in
Okay, something about a cases where
nowadays even everybody is having that umbrella. So the PF and
now
ESI.
last 1 year, 1.5 years, that department is also active.
Yeah.
ESI and PF department is also active. So that point will be there. That they can anyway, that is applicable for all the services. Even for chartered accountant services. Honestly speaking, we also don't follow ethical practices. We open a number of firms or an individual, other partnership firm, all these things are there in all the services. See, we are waiting for GST. Once GST comes, no one wants to escape tax.
Yeah.
The problem with all the service providers is they are not getting the enough credit.
Input.
We cannot charge the clients, small clients, service tax. They will not be ready to pay. Moment GST comes, they will be getting the credit for that also. Even traders will enjoy the credit. So if that comes, we will not be in a different. The credit movement will be there. Everyone will be happy to get registered. Final retailers or the final service providers will take the exemption. Otherwise, no person will be interested in taking the exemption. Right? This amendment is also effective from 1st of April 2015. Only amendment is from joint charge they are shifted to reverse charge.
Sir, in this situation, now we are filing a service tax return. It is 20% we are paying service provider.
Okay.
But next 100% to be paid by service receiver.
Yes.
So the service tax will be nil. That service provider.
For the service provider, yes.
There is no need to file the return.
They can surrender the registration. See,
Ah,
again
no,
they have to
already they are doing
see.
that.
They have to see that all their clients are body corporates. They have to see that all their clients are body corporates. If that is the case, they have to surrender the registration. If their few clients are partnership firms or other than body corporates, then they themselves have to pay
20%.
service tax. So in that scenario, they cannot take the benefit. They have to continue the registration.
Not 25%, sir, 100%.
100% are registered. Others I am telling.
There is no 25% now. It is straight away 100%. If it is not under reverse charge, full amount has to be paid by the provider. Now, meaning of security services, a general meaning part is very simple. Security to any property or any person. See, important point here is includes part. When you talk about security services, it also includes investigation, detection, verification of any fact or activity. So, seeing the definition also it becomes very important, because when you talk about security services, we always have in mind that only security people, either giving the safety to a person or a property. But if it is a case where a detection agency is also there, even in that case, include services by way of investigation, detection or verification of any fact or activity, even that is termed as security services.
Insurance surveyors will come.
Insurance?
Surveyors. Investigation, detection, verification.
Yes, possibility.
Insurance surveyors will come this way.
Possibility is there, I cannot tell for sure, but possibility is there. Seeing the definition, investigation, detection, verification of fact and authority, fact or activity, possibility is there.
They will come under this way.
Yes, it is possible. Seeing the definition, and right now, yes, said I only at that point of time I am taking that into account. There is a possibility. I cannot tell for sure, but there is a possibility. Seeing that
But they are not professionals. That cannot be treated as professional services. So far they are not taxed. Only this, under this rate they can tax.
See, whenever we are talking about includes part, generally interpretation is first it should be at least covered by the means part. So that going by that reason, maybe insurance actuaries or surveyors will not be coming into account. But if you look into only the includes part, then it is very clear that they are going to get covered. So the meaning of supply of manpower service is a very simple definition. Supply of manpower, only important term is whether temporary or otherwise. Even if it is on temporary basis, it will be covered to any other person to work under his control or superintendence. This term temporary is important. Now, a new item. All the amendments were effective from 1st of April. This amendment was effective from the next date of the bill, 1st of March. Aggregators. It is a bit different because here neither the provider is paying service tax, neither the recipient is paying service tax. It is a third person who is paying service tax. Aggregators. Now, when you talk about aggregators, the point is very simple. Services provided or agreed to be provided by any person involving a third party called as aggregator, to whom? To a business entity. Person who is liable to pay service taxes? Aggregator. Or his authorized representative, or a person who is appointed by aggregator. To put it in simple terms, either the aggregator or his nominee. He has to pay the service tax. Now, what kind of services will be covered here? You will see the definition of. First, we will see the effect of amendment. Before that, we will take an example to understand the effect of amendment. Whom can you call as aggregators? Give me an example. Uber, Ola cases, Ola taxi. What happens? You book a taxi. The person who's bringing the taxi is a third person. He is going to provide the services, and you are the recipient. But you booked the taxi under a particular brand name. They are only acting as an intermediaries. Previously, also those aggregators are paying service tax, but only on the commission. Say for example, you pay 100 rupees to the taxi operator. Out of that 100 rupees, they will pay 10 rupees to the Uber company. Previously also they were paying service tax, but they are paying service tax only on 10 rupees. Only on 10 rupees. Now, government not signing is very difficult because the taxi operator said that we are going for exemption. All those things are happening. So they are not able to collect service tax. Rather, the taxi operator is directly, he is using the brand name, train name. For that reason, what they said that now such aggregators have to pay service tax, not on the commission portion, but on the entire amount. In our example, it will be 100 rupees. So that is the effect of amendment, and the effective date is 1st of March 2015 itself.
So the second-hand car dealers, they are advertising, no? Will they become?
Everyone, sir. We will see the definition of aggregators. The moment we see the definition of aggregators, it will be very clear.
And seller. Yeah, commodity.
Meaning of aggregator.
Commission can charge.
Aggregate. Meaning of next slide. As per Rule 2(1)AA, a new definition which is introduced in service tax rules. Aggregator means a person who owns and manages a web-based software application. First important condition for being an aggregator, who is owning and managing a web-based software application, and by means of such application enables a potential customer to connect with the service provider. He's enabling the customer. That is, I want to hire a taxi. He's enabling me to connect with the service provider, taxi operator under the brand name, trade name of whom? Aggregator. So that person will be called as an aggregator, and service tax will be there on the full value, and the service tax will be paid with the third person. Not the taxi operator, not the recipient customer, but the third person aggregator. That is the meaning of aggregator. Now, here it requires to be analyzed as to who shall qualify as aggregator as such as web-based taxi service providers, hotel service providers, etc. Further, it is not clarified. Though in our example it is very simple, 100 rupees. It is not clarified on which value service tax is to be deposited. It's only an understanding because there is an amendment. They are focusing on not on commission on the entire value. Next important point, whether the abatement will be there or not. For rent-a-cab there is an abatement. Whether they can go for abatement or not, that is not clarified. And what will be the effect of credit, that is not clarified. So such clarifications needs to be there. And to your question, when you are talking about a particular goods which is taken from a particular aggregator, then in that case there is no service. So service tax will not come. This point was, if the intermediary, that is an aggregator, is for sale of goods, so question of service will never come.
Yeah, commission value.
Only at the commission value the aggregator will say, for example, I am purchasing something from Flipkart. In that scenario, question of service tax will not come. With reference to the value of goods, question of service tax will not come. What will happen? That aggregator who is receiving the commission from the seller, only on that commission service tax will be there. So to your question, second-hand cars and all, it is only a question of sales tax. On their commission they will pay service tax, not on the entire value. You are talking about the service being the particular contract is a service, and for that aggregator is in between. Only such cases this particular amendment is.
VAT is not applicable. Aggregator is not a order of the vehicle.
No, VAT will be there between the seller and the purchaser. See, when you are talking about Flipkart, one person will be the seller. They don't, initially they used to purchase goods and stock them. Nowadays, no company stock the goods. The best advantage is no cost, no stock cost. What will happen? They have few registered sellers. Registered sellers will directly sell the goods to the purchasers. The seller will pay sales tax, and the seller will give a commission to the Flipkart company. On that commission, Flipkart will pay service tax. So that will happen. Sales tax portion is that. Person who is paying sales tax is a seller, and person who is paying service tax is aggregator. But in this case, what will happen? If we are talking about taxis or hotels, booking of hotels, in such cases what will happen? Which involves aggregators, hotel or the taxi operator will not pay service tax, customer will not pay service tax. It is the third person, aggregator, who is going to pay service tax on the full value. The problem was, when you talk about taxi operators, they are individually going for exemption notification. If they are individually going for exemption notification, central government was not getting the revenue. Now by this amendment, what is happening? Not only on the commission balance 90 rupees, also they are going to collect service tax. Entire amount will be paid by the aggregator, who is very organized. If he is doing such kind of transaction, is very organized, full amount of service tax will be collected from the aggregator. They are leaving the main service provider, they are also leaving the service recipient. That being the case, this particular service is different from all the cases of reverse charge and joint charge, because they are not focusing on provider, they are not focusing on recipient, they are focusing on the third person.
Totally different.
Totally different from all the cases of reverse charge and joint charge.
Sir, if it is the taxi service providers, we can easily identify the aggregator to the brand name like
Becomes very difficult practically, sir.
no, Fast Track or Ola or whatever it is. But
Yes.
if it is hotel services like Make My Trip or Clear Trip or something like that,
Yes.
they will be providing number of hotels. We will have
Number
a
of
choice.
hotels
Then
will be
how
there.
come they will not come under the aggregator service? No, like that Flipkart only. They
No,
are also
sir. In such
providing-
scenario, say for example, you are booking hotel by an aggregator, they'll give the commission. It is easy to identify. If the moment the transactions are evaluated, they can
In that
easily
case,
find
they
it
will
out.
not be covered here, no?
Which cases, sir?
What are the
Like that hotel services who are providing the booking
If
services.
hotel services, that for sure aggregator will come into picture. Reverse charge will come. See, clarification is required. Number of cases, as your point is valid, to my understanding, for sure it will come. It is satisfying the condition. If you see the definition, it is satisfying all the definitions.
No, the brand name condition is not satisfied. They are not providing under a single brand name, no?
See, when you are booking that particular, when you are going
Mainly
for a
the
particular
website,
site,
the service provider name is a brand name, like Make My Trip or Clear Trip.
that
Here
particular
the
website you are
taxi-
going to go there, and Make My Trip will be there. Many hotels will be there. Now brand name, if you see the definition of brand name trade name, which is not reproduced, even that is introduced. It is copied from SSI exemption notification. It is very, very wide. Some linkage should be there. Some linkage is that you're going to makemytrip.com. So all such clarifications are expected. When you talk about an aggregator, not only with that particular point, brand name trade name, because brand name trade name definition is very wide. His particular point is when you're going to a particular website, you don't directly find a brand name. Number of hotels will be there. But when you see the definition of brand name trade name, see the definition, you will find that it is very, very wide. Any linkage is satisfied. If there is any linkage, it is called as brand name trade
Then
name.
Flipkart and Amazon will also get into this one.
But
they are also providing business auxiliary service. That
Let
will
it
also
be,
be
but in that
aggregator.
case, the basic thing is sale of goods.
No, but they are. They are facilitating the sale, no business auxiliary.
For facilitating the sale, on the commission they are paying service tax.
Yeah.
On the commission, they have to pay service tax.
Here also they are earning commission only.
In this case, they are earning commission, but the main service was also a main contract was also a contract of service.
Service.
In case
That's
of
the
Flipkart and
difference.
Amazon, the main contract is for sale of goods, and the second contract is for commission, business auxiliary services. So that is different. See, what was the problem was, for the main contract, many persons were going for SSP exemption notification. So government was not able to collect revenue. Say for example, take the example of taxi operators who understand this amendment. They are not getting the revenue. After this amendment, they are not focusing on taxi operators. Entire amount will be collected from the aggregator. If you are going by that particular point, even when you go for particular taxis, though the brand name is Ola, Uber, they'll get into touch with number of taxi operators.
Yeah, small like
Only
Or
difference
individual
is
owners.
that you have the option to select the hotels. Here, they'll directly call the taxi operators. Now the last case, import of services. General case, if the provider is not in taxable territory, he cannot collect service tax from him. Therefore, the focus will shift to recipient. Service provider, any person who is located in non-taxable territory, service recipient who is located in taxable territory, the person who is liable to pay service tax is recipient of the service. So these are all the cases of reverse charge. One more case of reverse charge is there, which is given along with joint charge itself. Now when we are talking about the last three cases, all the things are given together. So the condition for last three cases are same. Provider is a very big person, provider is a very small person, and the recipient is a very big person. Provider is a individual, HUF or partnership firm, whether registered or not, including AOP, located in taxable territory. Recipient is a very big person, business entity, registered as a body corporate, located in taxable territory. The same condition which we have discussed in security services and supply of manpower services. Now in such cases, we will have one more case of reverse charge and two cases of joint charge. The first point, though it is a case of reverse charge, it is specifically mentioned here because the condition is common and the service is also same. When you talk about the first case, renting of motor vehicle designed to carry passengers on abated value, there is an abatement on abated value to any person who is not engaged in similar line of business. If you are talking about provider and recipient, if you are talking about subcontract, they are not talking about such cases. They are talking about the main contract. If you are talking about the abated value, the value is itself reduced. The value is reduced, they don't charge the liability. The entire amount has to be paid by service recipient. The first is the last, another case of reverse charge. It is given along with joint charge because the conditions are same and service is also the same. Now when you talk about the second case, the same case, renting of motor vehicles designed to carry passengers to any person who is not engaged in similar line of business. Only difference is here you are talking about a case where abatement notification is not opted on non-abated value. Now the liability will be shared. On a bigger value, liability is shared 50% by the provider and 50% by the recipient. So this will happen, and all the cases you have to remember that the conditions are satisfied. If the conditions are not satisfied, it is always the service provider who has to pay service tax. Now the last case of reverse charge, works contract. Works contract 50%, 50%. Again important is condition has to be satisfied. Provider, very small person located in taxable territory. Recipient, very big person located in taxable territory. Sharing will be there 50% by the provider and 50% by the recipient. Works contract meaning is defined in section 65B, clause 54, Finance Act 1994. Works contract, first important condition is it is liable to sales tax. There is goods also involved plus services also involved, and If you see the second part, such contract is for the purpose of construction, erection, commissioning, installation. They are the main works. Even secondary works are also covered. Completion service, fitting out service, improvement, repair, renovation, alteration. Even the secondary services are covered. And one important thing about works contract is there is a misconception always that works contract is always dealing with immovable property. This is not true. Works contract may also be related with movable property, goods. Next. Mega exemption notifications are a very big list is there. 3 exemptions are there for works contract cases, and the same exemption is also extended by subcontractor. If the main contract is covered by the exemption notification, even the subcontract is covered by the exemption notification. If the main contract is not covered by the exemption notification, subcontractor is not covered by the exemption notification. So totally 4 exemptions. 3 to the main contractor. 4th is a clarification which tells that if to the main contractor exemption is applicable, even to a subcontract exemption is applicable. Now, just because works contract is very important, just a normal understanding. Scheme different rules are there. For works contract valuation rule, specific valuation rule is that rule 2A, which tells that there are 2 schemes, either to go for normal scheme or to go for a particular compounding scheme. Rule 2A is a particular rule. Rule 2A service tax valuation rules, STVR, service tax valuation rules 2006. First part, normal schemes means you are able to bifurcate the value of the goods and value of the services. Now that is possible only if under sales tax you have given the value of the goods, actual value of the goods. Which means that only if you are going for actual scheme under sales tax, you can go for actual scheme under service tax. If you are going for compounding scheme under sales tax, only possibility is you have to go for compounding scheme for service tax. And in this case, the formula is very simple. Say for example, 1 crore is the total value, out of which 60 crores pertains to actual value of the goods is 60 lakhs, and you have paid sales tax on 60 lakhs. Balance 40 lakhs you have to pay service tax. Gross amount charged for the works contract less value of property and goods transferred in execution of the said works contract if the value of the goods is known and it is properly shown in the sales tax to the sales tax department. Now next is the compounding scheme. This will be applicable if you are not going for normal scheme of the actual value under sales tax, that is you are going for compounding scheme under sales tax. Only option is go for compounding scheme even under service tax. 2 particular percentages are there. If you are talking about the original work, what will be the original work? It is basic construction for immovable property or erection, installation or commissioning for plant and machinery, which may be movable property or immovable property. It is 40% of total amount charged. If you are talking about the main works contract, it is 40%. If you are talking about the secondary works contract, say for example repairing and maintenance, whether it is in relation to goods or immovable property, it is straightly 70% of total amount charged. Previously, secondary works for goods was given separately, for immovable property was given separately. 60%, 70% was the value. Now it is both together. The moment you talk about secondary works, it is whether it is in relation to goods or whether it is in relation to immovable property. It is always 70%. This budget, no, not this budget. This was there in
some amount is see with regards to original work and
they have clarified the definition of original works, but percentage remains the same.
okay, 70%.
For 40%, 70%.
Previously it was 70, 60 like the 2
40,
rates were
60,
there.
70 was there. Now it is 40%,
rationalized
70%.
So
Rationalized difference of points are there. See, when you talk about plant and machinery, at times it is immovable property, at times it is movable property. So to avoid that confusion, straightly it is 70%.
But in the works contract definition, if you see the previous slide,
Yes. 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 Yes.
such contract is they are telling only about the any building or structure on land, or anything in relation to building or structure on land only. But
Anything.
in subsequent in compounding scheme, when they are talking about the rate, they are bringing in goods. So there is
Goods
some
will be there. Goods. So yes, your point is when you talk about the definition of works contract, their focus is only on building or structure of land. The focus is only on immovable property. But if you see various sales tax definitions, works contract is also for goods also. Say for example, the best example could be motor vehicle, repair of motor vehicle. When you are talking about repair of motor vehicle, painting of motor vehicle, whether it is a works contract or not. Paint is goods, but the service is done by the mechanic. When you again take the motor vehicle back, you are not going to tell that I have purchased a paint. You are not going to tell that. The motor vehicle is being repaired, it is repainted. So that involves goods being the paint and the service. So it is a classic example of works contract where you are not talking about a more property.
So, but in the compounding scheme, then whether it will be covered under original works or it is maintenance we have to
See, when you talk about original works, it includes all the things. Construction, when you talk about erection, installation, commissioning, it is for goods as well as immobile property. Construction is only for immobile property. When you talk about erection, commissioning, installation, which is with reference to plant and machinery can be movable property as well as immobile property. So it focuses on both goods and immobile property. Construction is only and only pertaining to immobile property. But the last three terms, erection, installation, commissioning, it may be related to goods, it may be related to immobile property. Next thing. Now, other important aspects, we have completed with reverse charge and joint charge.
In
I
joint
think-
charge
yes.
account,
Yes.
50%, if our service provider is service recipient, joint charge, after 100%,
Services.
The recipient has paid 100% of his liability.
We will see that in other aspects. Your question will be answered in other aspects. Other few important aspects. Now, first we will see this particular point. In a case where how to comply with the rules. Say for example, if recipient is individual, whether he has to make the payment on quarterly basis or monthly basis. Provider is a corporate, recipient is an individual, whether he has to make the payment on monthly basis or quarterly basis. You have to see the constitution of the person who is paying service tax and decide. Whosoever is paying service tax, see his constitution, then decide whether to pay on monthly basis or quarterly basis, because written filing is always half-yearly. So in reverse charge cases, service recipient falls into the shoes of service provider, and for all practical purposes such as registration or payment of service tax or filing of returns, it is the status of the service recipient which is allowed and not that of provider. The same is true with joint charge. Joint charge means when you talk about service provider's liability, see it from the status of provider. When you talk about service recipient's liability, see it from the status of service recipient. Here question. Reverse charge and joint charge. Shifting of liability by mutual consent. The question, maybe it is even applicable for joint charge also. They are telling 50%, but some agreement is that whereby recipient is saying that I will pay the entire liability. Whether this can happen, it cannot happen. See, the basic objective is which is going to prevail, law or the contract, mutual agreement. Whether the law is going to prevail or the mutual agreement between the provider and recipient is going to prevail. It is the law. You can go for revenue neutrality. When you are challenging the case to the High Court and Supreme Court telling that you have already paid the service tax. That you can go. That concept is of revenue neutrality. Once the government has got...
In contract business, service recipient always paying, and they will not give that 50% to the service provider. So he has to pay his, out of his own pocket.
So why service recipient is going and paying 50 full 100%?
Money is
Your liability is 50%, or you are paying 100%.
I will not reimburse that 50%. I will pay 100%. I pay there.
You cannot do anything. At least if you take a written representation from the company, because you never know whether they are paying full or not. How can you? You never know. What is the proof? They might tell you that they are paying 100%. You never know. You get a written representation from the company. You can challenge this not on the basis of shifting of liability, but you can challenge this based on revenue neutrality, and which will be accepted only by High Courts and Supreme Courts. It will not be recognized by Commission of Appeals and SSCAT. They will tell that when law is very clear, why don't you follow it? If the recipient is not paying the amount, then it is not the idea of the central government. You have to pay it. If the law is clear at 50%, 50%, you have to pay 50% and 50%. Reverse charge mechanism is mandatory as the liability is fixed by the statute. Provider and recipient cannot shift the statutory liability by mutual agreements. Mutual private agreements have no validity in law. In simple words, service provider cannot make the payment of service tax on behalf of service recipient and vice versa. And this was held by Tribunal 19 Security 2007. The same is applicable even in case of joint charge. See, two different things are there. Whether the burden can be shifted by contract?
No.
Burden can be shifted. It was decided by Supreme Court. Rashtriya Ispat Nigam Limited. Burden can be shifted. Say for example, it is a case of normal case. Service provider has to pay service tax. Service recipient will very well tell that I am going to pay only 100 rupees. I am not going to pay 112.36. Which means that basically liability has to be passed on. When you talk about entire taxes, I can pass on the liability. On my invoice, I can write it as 100 plus 12.36. Finally, recipient should pay me the service tax. I am only acting as an agent. I will pay the service tax to the central government. But that can be a contract. Say for example, recipient's bargaining capacity is high. He is telling that I am going to make you only 100 rupees payment, and you don't write any service tax on the invoice. Because of the higher bargaining capacity of the recipient, I accepted it. Now on the invoice it is only 100 rupees. I am not collecting service tax. Now burden is shifted. Time of AC burden was passed on, but when I am adding only 100 rupees, the burden is not passed on. Yes, shifting of burden is possible by contract. Who is going to incur the cost of service tax? That can be decided mutually. But who is finally going to pay service tax? That is decided by law. Two different issues are there. Shifting of burden is possible by contract, but the person who is going to pay service tax to the central government is fixed by statute, by the law, Finance Act 1994.
அதுதான் சார் நீ சிம்பிளா எல்லா இடத்துலயும் நடக்கிறது தான்.
Inclusive,
நீங்க என்னமோ பண்ணுங்க நான் கொடுங்கறத
Auditor case இவ்வளவுதான் இருக்கும். You may charge your tax audit clients along with service tax, and you go for individual clients. They will tell that என்னப்பா service tax. See, the problem is GST is not there. See, their problem is if you add service tax, that is an additional cost to them. The moment GST will come, that problem will go away. Tell them not a problem. Just like they are booking the ITC of the goods, they will be booking GST of all the goods and all the services. So the moment you are not able to pass on, you can always go for come tax calculation within the amount. 100 rupees multiplied by 12.36 divided by 12.36, but the burden is to be paid by the provider. He cannot pass on the liability. That is possible by mutual agreement. But who is going to pay service tax? That is decided by law. Reverse charge and joint charge. Another very important question: whether service recipient can go for SSP exemption notification. First. Second, whether he can pay the service tax using the SENVA credit. Second important question.
No, he cannot avail.
Payment. We are not talking about availment of CCR. We are talking about utilization of CCR.
After payment, he can utilize.
After payment, he can book and utilize.
Yes.
But for payment, he has to pay only in cash.
By cash.
Payment of service tax by service recipient in case of reverse charge. Provider and recipient in case of joint charge. When we talk about joint charge and reverse charge cases, SSP exemption notification is not applicable for reverse charge. It is equally not applicable for joint charge, both for provider and recipient. Both for provider and recipient. 33/2012. SENVA credit can be utilized. Say for example, we are talking about joint charge. Service provider has to pay his liability, recipient has to pay his liability. When service provider is making the payment, can he use the credit? Provider can use the credit. He cannot. Both the persons cannot go for SSP exemption notification. But provider can use the credit. Reason is SENVA credit can be utilized by provider as it is a payment of service tax on his output service. He can use the credit. But credit cannot be utilized by service recipient because he is paying service tax on his input service. Credit can be utilized by the provider, but credit cannot be utilized by the service recipient as it is a payment of service tax on his input service. So to this extent, it is different from provider and recipient when you are talking about joint charge. So SENVA credit also comes into picture. To summarize it, when you talk about recipient's angle, service recipient in reverse charge cases and joint charge cases, focus is only on recipient. Both in reverse charge and joint charge cases is to pay service tax only in cash. He cannot use the credit, irrespective of its aggregate value of the services received. He cannot tell that my value of service is less than 10 lakhs. That point cannot be set, and he has to pay entire service tax only in cash. However, service recipient on payment of service tax by cash on such input service, he can subsequently book the credit. Say for example, that service recipient is the next service provider. He is providing one more service. So when he is going to pay service tax on his output service, he can book the credit on the service tax which is paid on reverse charge basis and use the credit. That point is clarified. However, service recipient on payment of service tax by cash on such input service can book the credit based on, here the supporting document will be challan. Invoice service tax will not be there. It is only challan, GER, Saman challan. If his output service is not exempted, which means that he is subsequently paying service tax on his output service. If the chain is continued, he is allowed to book the credit and use the credit. Now, when you talk about provider's angle, these 3 points are the same. When you talk about the provider's angle, next slide. Provider will come only in joint charge. Provider in joint charge cases is to pay service tax, he can use the credit, either by using the credit or cash. But important point is, even he cannot go for SSP exemption notification, irrespective of its aggregate value of service provider. However, service provider on payment of service tax by credit on such output service will get the refund of excess credit. For provider, there is a rule which is introduced called as Rule 5b. The reason is when you talk about joint charge from the point of service provider, what will happen? His output will always be less than input. He cannot be happy just by seeing the dummy credit. That is actually dummy. Every time his input will be higher. Now what they have said, okay, dummy credit will be there, you can go for the refund of dummy credit, which is said in Rule 5b of Seminar Credit Rules 2004. Next is independent of each other. Joint charge cases, when you talk about provider's liability and recipient's liability, it is independent of each other, which means that the classic example for this is works contract. General understanding is the moment you talk about joint charge works contract, 50%, 50%, but that 50%, 50% value will not be the same. How? Service provider may go for normal scheme. Value will be totally different. Say total 1 crore is the value. If he is going for normal scheme, say 70 lakhs is the value of the goods, value of the service will be 30 lakhs. So provider will be paying service tax only on 30 lakhs. 30 lakhs multiplied by 12.36 multiplied by only 50%. Recipient, he will never know the actual value of the goods. So he is going for compounding scheme. Say it is original works, 40% of the total amount charged. 1 crore multiplied by 40% will be 40 lakhs. So provider was paying service tax on 30 lakhs, recipient is paying service tax on 40 lakhs multiplied by 12.36 multiplied by 50%. So their answer will not be the same. Their liability is independent of each other. This is being clarified. Liability of the provider and the recipient is independent of each other. So the last important aspect for this particular joint charge and reverse charge is point of taxation. What is the point of taxation? Once it is fixed that they have to pay service tax, when they have to pay service tax. Who has to pay service tax is clarified. When they have to pay service tax. When you talk about service provider will come into picture only in joint charge cases. For him, normal point of taxation rule will be applicable. Rule 3, normal point of taxation rule. Now, which tells that in case invoice is issued within the time limits mentioned in the Rule 4A of service tax rules, in that case, earlier of issuance of invoice or receipt of payment. In case invoice is not issued within the time limits mentioned in Rule 4A of service tax rules, then forget invoice, see completion of service or receipt of payment, whichever is earlier. Receipt of payment will always be that. Service tax is very peculiar. It is going on the concept of accrual or receipt, whichever is earlier. Accrual definition will vary. Generally, accrual definition is invoice. At times, it will be completion of service. Receipt will always come. This is only for provider. Recipient, you see recipient, for recipient, rules are as that. Rules are a point of taxation rules. Whether you are talking about reverse charge case, full liabilities of recipient, joint charge case, only partial liabilities there. For him, he has to apply Rule 7. It tells that in case the payment is made within 3 months. Things were different before, budget 2014. Now it is being changed. Within 3 months, in that case, date of making of payment. In a case where the payment is not made within 3 months, then the next date after the completion of 3 months. Is the point clear? So if we talk about a works contract case, we take the same works contract case, and in a case where invoice is issued on 14th of April and the payment is made on say next month or June, 1st of June, provider will pay the point of taxation for provider will be
15th.
April month, but the point of taxation for the recipient will be June month. So it is going to differ. Point of taxation will differ, therefore due date of making the payment will also differ. Only based on point of taxation, due date of payment will be fixed. The point is, the point of taxation is also important. Other than this, one thing which we have not discussed because it will run into pages, place of provision for each and independent services. All the 16 or 17 services which I discussed, even place of provision plays an important role. Because the moment place of provision is a non-taxable territory, joint charge, reverse charge, point of taxation, all these things will not come into picture. Complicated because we tried to read the rules from the legal text for both manufacturer and service providers. Everywhere in the legal text you will find for a manufacturer of final product or for a provider of output service. The moment you read in this fashion, the moment you are clarified for one point, again confusion will come. So it is always better when you are talking about semi-credit, separate it. What is for manufacturer, what is for service provider. If you segregate that things will become very simple. Hardly 16 rules are there, out of which 4 or 5 rules are irrelevant. So only you have to go through only 12 rules. Now this is a history. 1986 Modras was there. Separate schemes are there for provider and manufacturer. Provider was allowed only the credit of service and manufacturer was allowed only the credit of goods. The next scheme was 2004 final scheme which is followed right now, Semi Credit Rules 2004, which said that they have merged both the schemes. Provider or manufacturer can book the credit of all the three components, whether it is inputs, input services or capital goods. Because when you talk about a manufacturer, he cannot do his business without input services. In the present scenario, he cannot do his business without input services. The same is true for a provider also. Many inputs will be there, many capital goods will be there. So this inter-sectoral credit was allowed in 2004. Now we talk about Senva credit. Next confusion is the terms. Availment is a different term, utilization is a different term. Only when you are allowed to avail the credit, you can talk about utilization. If credit is not availed or not booked, you cannot talk about using of utilization of credit. So first be clear whether the client is allowed to book the credit or avail the credit. Only if he is allowed to book the credit or avail the credit, next question will be of utilization of credit. And availment of credit, conditions are 5 conditions, and the conditions are not given in sequence. And that is the advantage for the chartered accountants. If they are given in sequence, anyone, any layman can easily go the rules. Their conditions are given in different places. Rule 2, Rule 4, Rule 6, Rule 9 and Rule Proviso to Rule 3.1. So 5 different conditions are given in 5 different places. We are talking only about availment of credit, and that too it is different for input services, capital goods. When you see the first 2 conditions, Rule 2 and Rule 4, things are very different for input services, capital goods. If you see for capital goods, it is Rule 2A read along with Rule 4.2. If you see for inputs, Rule 2K read along with Rule 4.1. If you see for input services, Rule 2L read along with Rule 4.7. Things are different for input, all the 3 components, input services, capital goods. The last 3 conditions are same for all. Rule 6, which says that you can book the credit only if you are paying. You can book the credit of input only if you are paying tax on output. Very normal. If you are not paying, don't book the credit. That is said in Rule 6. Rule 9.
But there should be relationship between that particular output service and
that is being said in detail. The only complicated conditions. See, if you want to start with Senva credit and if you want to be clearly understand the Senva credit concept, first go through all the first 2 rules, Rule 2 and Rule 4. That is sufficient. Other things are very normal. Only complications will be there in 2A, 2K, 2L, 4.2, 4.1, 4.7. If these things are clear, other things are only based on that. The moment you understand all these 5 conditions, other rules you can easily understand that initially conditions are satisfied, later point of time conditions are not satisfied, therefore reversal of credit. So that kind of things will be happening. If you understand all these conditions, most importantly the first 2 conditions, Senva credit is over. Right? Rule 9 talks about supporting documents, invoice. Basically, invoice in certain cases when you talk about reverse charge case, whether you find service tax on invoice, it is challan. So supporting documents is discussed, therefore they have not used the term invoice, they have used the term supporting documents, which is a wide term to cover invoice as well as other documents including challans. That is discussed in Rule 9. The last rule, Proviso to Rule 3.1, talks only for inputs and capital goods, where they are talking about partial exemption notification goods, 1/2011, all the 130 goods, and 12/2012, only 2 goods they have mentioned, coal and fertilizers. Say for example, I am purchasing these category of goods, general rate is 2.06%. Though I am paying tax on my output, I will not be allowed to book the credit of that particular small amount of duty on my inputs and capital goods. So this is only and only for inputs and capital goods. And if you see the first 4 conditions, link it to the sales tax law, ITC. It will be the same, only those 4 conditions are mentioned. Last condition is very peculiar only for manufacturing service providers. First 4 conditions, Rule 2, Rule 4, Rule 9 and Rule 6, the same thing is mentioned in T and VAT. Same thing is exactly, they have defined what do you mean by goods, they have defined what is the main condition they have defined. Supporting document is very much relevant, and same thing in terms of Rule 6, again you have the same concept. If you are not paying sales tax on output, don't book the credit of ITC. Exactly the same thing. Right? These are the conditions. Now, if you start with all these things, I think it will take more time. We will just discuss the amendments. We will stop that. We will discuss amendments without the slides. Now, one important amendment in Senva credit is when you talk about reverse charge case, more importantly, joint charge case, How to book the credit? Take the next slide. Time limit. They have changed. Much expected amendment from 6 months they have changed it to
1 year.
before 2014 budget. There was no time limit. No time limit for booking the credit. Conditions, there are restrictions in terms of General Clause Act. 3 years. Beyond which you cannot book the credit. But Senva credit rules by itself never said that there is any time limit. Once the conditions are 5 conditions are satisfied, you can book the credit at any point of time. But for inputs and input services, remember for capital goods, even though there is no time limit, for input and input services, they have said the time limit is 6 months in 2014. Now that 6 months has been extended to 1 year, both for inputs and input services. Even now, there is no time limit for capital goods for booking the credit. Only time limit is there for input and input services, and the time limit is 1 year. Same thing, 1 year is a time limit for input services also. Yes, there is an amendment here which was highly expected. It was not logical. They talk about input service. If it is a case of normal case, in normal case, who is going to pay service tax? Provider. And one important thing when you talk about Senva credit, think always from the view of the buyer of the service system. The moment you are talking about Senva credit, you assume yourself as a buyer of goods or recipient of services. You are allowed to book the credit based on the invoice. If the service provider is paying service tax himself, based on the invoice, you can book the credit. In normal cases, credit is admissible as soon as invoice is received from the service provider because service provider's liability is there. In reverse charge case, who is going to pay service tax? Recipient is going to pay service tax. He is the person who is going to book the credit. When he can book the credit? In reverse charge cases, credit is admissible when the service tax is paid to the government by the same person, service recipient. Service recipient's liability. In joint charge, what will happen? It should be a combination. On invoice, some amount of service tax will be there. Some amount will be directly paid by the service recipient. That amount which is there on the invoice, book on the receipt of invoice. That amount which is to be paid by the service recipient himself, book it on the payment of service tax. In joint charge cases, credit is admissible when the invoice is received from the service provider. To what extent? To the service provider's liability which is reproduced in the invoice. And for the service recipient's liability, service tax is paid to the central government by the same service person. What was the amendment? Previously, they were telling that to the extent of service recipient's liability, he can book the credit in joint charge case only when he is making the payment of service tax to the central government plus service charges to the service provider. Whether he is making the payment to the service provider or not, that is not enough. The moment central government has got its revenue, it should allow the credit. Therefore, this amendment is there. That service charges to the service provider is omitted. Let's take it. I think no more amendments will be there for the basic concepts of Senva credit. Other important amendments are the concept of the job worker. Now they allow the goods to be directly taken to the premises or factory of the job worker rather than manufacturer first bringing the goods to this factory, then taking the goods to the job worker's factory. If it's very clear that he'll send the goods to the job worker's factory, directly he can send the goods to the job worker's factory. And also they have increased the time limit for capital goods, the goods which can be kept in the job worker's premises. From 180 days for capital goods it is 2 years. Those important amendments are there. Any particular doubts with respect to Senva credit? With respect to this budget? I hope what I have delivered is reached, and thank you for your patience.